If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Just start. Just begin. Honestly, like, you can't just keep waiting to feel ready because that moment is never going to come. And you need to just start with being imperfect and being scared, but willing to do it anyway. Because life is never going to give you perfect timing. Life rarely works out the way that we think it will. And life doesn't just revolve around when you feel good about doing something. Like, more often than not, we have to still show up anyway, even when things are hard and even when things don't feel good and even when we're terrified. So just let life meet you where you are and with all your doubts and all your fears and let that be enough, you know? It's like there's so many times in my life where I felt so unsure when like my heart was telling me to go for something, but my head was like, well, what if, what if, what if? And it's like, I don't want to face rejection or I don't want to face um, judgment or I don't want to embarrass myself or I don't want to be seen fully. Where I feel like I need to be more perfect or where I need to be more ready or I need to be more alert and alive and it's just, I'm always putting a weight and a pause on everything. And I know that anything good that ever happened in my life or that I achieved did not come because I was ready. It came because I put one foot in front of another every single day and I just showed up, right? And so it takes just that one small brave step and that courage to change everything. You can change your entire life just with one single step. Because as you start walking towards something, that thing starts walking towards you simultaneously. And it really doesn't work any other way. Things don't magically just land in your lap. And I mean, they can, but it requires you to have a target and to move towards it and to be brave enough to know that you don't have a manual for it, but you can adjust as you go. You're going to clarify. The more that you show up and you work through the discomfort and you're brave enough to feel everything that comes with it, then you can start to say, okay, well, this or this is or isn't working for me. What do I need to change? Right? So it's like you don't have to do it perfect in one shot. You just have to start and adjust. Okay? Because you're never going to have a better plan. You're never going to have more clarity. That will always change. So the clarity comes when you move, when you get out of your way, and when you stop telling yourself the same stories you've always been telling yourself. Like, are you even aware of the stories that are in your mind? Like, it's crazy how much if you just take a day to think about what are all the things I tell myself in my head in a day? Are these stories positive? Are these stories encouraging? Are these stories helpful? And are these stories going to get me where I'm going? And this inner voice that I have, is it current with who I am now? Or are these past voices in my head that are telling me things that are just keeping me small or stuck or scared? You're never going to be a different version of yourself if you don't change your stories, if you don't do something different. But you do have to start with no judgment to yourself. You can't overthink things. You just have to start. And so if you need a permission slip, here's your permission slip. I'm giving it to you. Just begin. Just do something differently today than you did yesterday. If there's something you want to go for it. If there's parts of you that you know need to change, then change them. Just be brave. I'll tell you something like today I didn't want to show up here. I've had a rough week, a rough couple days, and even though I've had a rough week, I've also had a great week. And so life has become this paradox for me where I have such amazing things happening to me all the time, and life is really good and things are great. And and I have a lot to be grateful for. But on the other hand, shit goes down and things go wrong, and I encounter versions of myself and parts of myself that come up to be viewed and healed and extracted, and that feels like an ugly process. Um, and the way that this happens is just through life, right? Like the things that I come up against, the people that I meet, the things that I do, the situations presented to me. And so I've been feeling very like raw and exposed this week. And I have a little bit of like a openness hangover. Like sometimes sometimes when you show up as a different version of yourself, as a new version of yourself, or you open your heart, or you are vulnerable and truthful, or you change a pattern, or you do something that you didn't think you were ready for, or um, that you went towards something that you weren't expecting, um, it will bring up all your fears. Like it's like if you stir a pond, like all the dirt comes up to the top, and then all of a sudden like the water's mucky, and you're like, oh, okay, like didn't realize that was down there. And so that's, I guess, been the week that I've had where there was things about myself I thought that I had shifted and healed, and then I was sadly mistaken. And you know, I've learned to not get down on myself when that happens, because it's like healing comes in layers like an onion. Um it's not a one and done thing. You will continuously heal certain wounds of yourself until you get right to the bottom of the root. And in order to get to the root, it goes layer by layer by layer. And so, sometimes it feels like you're going in circles and in circles and circles. Like, I thought I healed this. And then it's like, well, no, you're actually going up a spiral staircase. Okay, so you are going upwards. It just doesn't feel like it. It feels like circles, but you are in an upwards trajectory. It's just you have to keep revisiting things from a different lens each time, and choosing differently, and choosing your thoughts differently, your behaviors differently, the stories you tell yourself differently. And so, um, yeah, I've grown a lot in the last couple weeks. I'm always growing, but um, I've also been up against like the mirror of like my own shadows of the things that I've kept hidden and suppressed inside of myself. Yeah, it's funny. Like I live alone and I do most of my life alone. And so I'm just very comfortable that way, and that's where I'm happiest. And then when I start to like branch out in life and join with more people, and I interact too much in the world, things get a little more chaotic for me, and I kind of lose sight of myself a little bit. And then I get triggered with all these things that I wouldn't have otherwise if I, had stayed home alone. So, um, but that's not how we grow. We grow through a mirror, we grow through relationship. And that's the best way for us to become more of ourselves and to challenge ourselves, and to um, also enjoy life. Like again, life is a contrast of good and bad. Life is always going to be shitty and good at the same time. And like if you're looking for perfection in life, it's not going to happen. If you're looking for yourself to be also flawless, it's not going to happen. If you're looking for other people to be flawless, it's also not going to happen. Like that's the thing about life, is like when you learn to just love all of it, that's when you find peace. And it's like I used to think that peace came from having something or achieving something or being something or getting somewhere. And I came to realize in my journey that it has to do with loving all of it. Peace literally is just you saying, okay, I'm okay with whatever happens. Like that doesn't mean I'm going to just lay back and take it, but it does mean that I'm going to participate in life, but that if things go wrong or they don't go the way that I intended, I'm not going to lose my mind over it. You know, life is always going to throw you curveballs. Life is always going to surprise you in good and bad ways. Life is always going to have some shit for you to deal with. It's always going to have painful moments. It's always going to have moments that stretch you and that wake you up and that shake you. And there's always going to be these plot twists and just be okay with that. Learn that like you can trust yourself that no matter what happens, you're going to deal with it and you're going to be okay, and that you will find a silver lining and that you'll grow through it and that you'll use those things to heal aspects of yourself and that you'll alchemize them by turning them into gold somehow, and recognizing that, you know, sometimes doors when they close are just, you know, protection for you, and they're leading you to the path that you're meant to be on. It's just you can't quite see that, you know, the wrong, what feels like wrong turns or slammed doors or closed windows is actually just rerouting you. And so the most peace I've ever encountered now is just, you know what, I trust God, I trust the universe, I trust my path. I know what's meant for me will always be for me. I know that I don't have to chase or force or control anything. I do have to put in action, and I do have to keep my thoughts clean. And I do need to show up, but um, I don't need to stress. That's not necessary. Stressing is just insanity. You know, if you trust, you are in a state of surrender because you're basically saying, yeah, I'm good. I don't have resistance inside of me. I'm gonna do what is necessary and what I can control in my own life right now. I have put in the order for what I want, and I trust that that will come to me if it's for me and in the right timing and when the puzzle pieces want to come together. And yeah, and then you just continue on your way. And so that's how you find peace. Anyway, I that's not even what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how um, you know, being ready is it's a huge myth because telling yourself that you're not ready is basically just a lie that you're telling yourself to keep yourself safe. And being safe and staying in your comfort zone means that you're very linear. You're just in a straight line. You're not you're not dying. I've said this before, but like, you know, on a heart monitor, if it's a straight line, it means you're dead. So like you want that heart monitor to go up and down, and that's why again with life, you know, you want the ups and downs. They're necessary. You need the good to appreciate the bad, right? And you need the bad to appreciate the good. It just is the yin yang. It's just balance. It's just how life works. Life is always seeking balance. And so in terms of being ready, it's like we'll tell ourselves, well, in order to be emotionally, or in order to be ready, I need to be emotionally stable. I need to be financially secure. I need to be fully healed. I need to not have triggers anymore. I need to be spiritually clear before I begin. And it's like, that's not how it works. Like, are we not all in a process of becoming? You know, we all start off as a baby. A baby doesn't even know how to walk or eat or talk, like, but it learns. So what makes being an adult any different? Are we not just at different stages of our adulthood? Are we not just on a path of becoming? You're not done till you're dead, and you don't know when you're going to be dead. So, you know, just give yourself some grace along the way and live your life that you have. You have this one life, you have a lot of privileges, and you have an opportunity. So take it. Like one of the things that I used to scare the shit out of myself sometimes is that I'm like halfway through my life. I'm 35 years old, and if I live till 70, that's great. Maybe I'll live longer, but let's use 70 as like an average age of dying. Well, if I'm halfway through my life, like what the fuck am I doing with my life, right? It's like just go for it. because life goes by so fast. It feels slow when things are like not going your way, but um, life moves very fast. And so, take the risks and make the changes and just do all that you set out to do, and be really proud of yourself when you do something. Like don't think that you need to be everything. Just be something. And so just begin. I know I keep saying that, but it's necessary to just begin somewhere, and you'll have so much to gain from that, and your future self will be just so happy for you and so proud of you. And it's to think of all the other times in your life you weren't ready and you did, and you figured it out. That's what we do, is we figure it out. Like I've said this before in some of my other videos, I'm sure, but when I started my yoga and wellness center, I did not know what I was doing. I remember just being like, who, what, when, where, how, why. And then those seemed like questions that were never going to get answered at some point. And then eventually, just because I was dedicated to the goal, like they all figured themselves out and they all just presented to me when the moment was right. And before you knew it, I had this like 5,000 square foot, actually, it was bigger than that, 5,400 square foot yoga and wellness center, and like up to 30 staff in the winters. And it was a very successful business that, a lot of people loved and a lot of people benefited from, and something I was very proud of. It doesn't exist anymore because COVID ate it, but that's okay. Um, I lost all of that and I thought I was going to die, and I didn't. I became even more of myself by losing it, which I wouldn't trade. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But the point is just like I wasn't ever ready. And it was just the movement that created the clarity and the power and the results that I was waiting for, right? So, um, we look at starting something new or going out of our comfort zone as some kind of like pain that we want to avoid, right? Like there's this discomfort, but it's like, um, doesn't the discomfort of not trying actually outweigh the discomfort of trying? Like, doesn't it feel even worse to never begin? Because then you're just sitting on all this potential. They say that like graveyards are the richest place in on the earth because they're full of ideas that people never brought to life. Right? So I told this girl that once, this saying, and then she called me the next day. She was crazy, but she called me and she was like, "Yeah, so like, you know what I did last night?" I was like, "What?" She's like, "I went to the graveyard." I was like, why?" She's like, "Yeah, I went for a walk." Like after you said that to me, I was just like, wow, I'm gonna go snatch some ideas from the ghosts at the graveyard. Oh Lord. That's not what I was going for, but I mean, whatever. She seized the moment, so whatever floats your boat, right? But anyway, you don't want to, um, we don't want to carry weight of mistakes as a human, but, self-abandoning and not even trying to make mistakes or not even putting yourself out there or taking risks is going to feel so much shittier. Like you're going to be ignoring your potential, and you're going to be staying stuck in cycles that you've long outgrown, that are expired, and versions of yourself that are just, they're bored. Versions of yourself that don't feel alive because they're not really living, they're just existing. But I mean, we don't know any different when we don't try, right? And so it's like if you had water your whole life and then one day someone comes along with some juice and you're like, wow, this is delicious. And the thing is like if you had never tried that juice and you didn't, encounter somebody who had something different, you wouldn't know the difference. You would just still be drinking water. And I mean, this is a poor example because I would prefer to drink water over juice because it's healthier, but you catch the drift anyway. So, yeah. The beginnings are always messy, and messy means sacred to me because it's like if I'm like having to figure something out and sort something out, isn't that something to be really proud of? Like just even knowing that I'm having these conversations or making these adjustments or pivots, that means that like my life is in motion. That means I'm alive. That means I'm living. And so I guess another good example is with my videos. It's like I a lot of times don't want to show up. I don't. I don't all the time. I take long breaks. But more often than not, the cost of staying silent becomes a lot louder than my fear of being seen. And so sometimes I just show up and I get over it. And I'm telling you, like this morning, my choice was stay in bed all day and feel sorry for yourself and just like dwell in these like shadows that are coming up. Or, take your power back and go and do something that um is going to get you where you're going and allows you to express yourself and to be the fullest extent of your being, right? So I could have used those voices in my head and allowed them to take me down a darker trail, right? We all have this opportunity every day, in every moment. We have two voices. We've got the angel and the devil on our shoulder, basically. And it's like, what are these things telling you? Are they telling you that you suck and that you can't do it and that life is hard and that life sucks and that you screwed everything up and that you're terrible and that you're no good for nothing and that, you know, life is mean to you and things don't work out and you'll never have this and you'll never have that, right? Is that what you're listening to in your head? Because if you are, your life's gonna suck. But if you listen to the voice that says, you know what? I am imperfect and that's okay. I am trying. I am learning. I forgive myself. I am just going to try again. Even though I failed, I'm going to try again. Even though past experiences didn't work out, it doesn't mean that future ones won't. Even if this was a result I got from something, doesn't mean that I'm going to get that result again. It means let's try it from a different angle with the awareness and the wisdom that we have now, and let's see if we can produce a different result. And then it's like other good voices are like, okay, well, I trust myself and I trust myself to make these decisions. I trust that, you know, um, I can follow my heart. I trust that, life is working out for me. I trust that life is good. There's so many good things working out for me. I'm loved. You know, um, life surprises me in good ways every day. And, anything that's hard, I know I'll get through it. And the evidence of that is that I've gotten through all the other hard things life has thrown at me. Right? So it's like very different language. And you get a choice every day of like, which one of these voices are you going to feed? And so I find myself all the time, I'll fall into those old habits of listening to these voices and then I'm like, no, screw off. Like I'm not playing this game with you. Like I have learned to have such an inner strength to my truth and a voice of love for myself, and a voice of compassion for myself that those dark voices don't really come up anymore. But man, did they ever for my whole entire life. And it was like I just battled them every day, all the time. And so it was just many years of a war between those voices for me, where eventually one day it was like, building a muscle. You go to the gym, you start at 5, you start at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. There's no way I'm getting up to 50, but it's like, um, that muscle got built over time. And then my new habit, where my brain would like seek from, was through a space of peace, a place of self-compassion, a place of self-love, instead of reaching to the shitty voices, which, when I look back at that now, I'm like incredibly proud of who I've become. But And it might look easy to people on the outside, my life or the way I speak to myself or the wisdom I have, but it came from working through the depths of hell and excavating those patterns and breaking them and challenging those voices and rewiring those voices, those thoughts, those stories. You know, familiarity isn't truth. And just because I was familiar with something and that I was programmed a certain way through childhood, society, the world, media, experiences, yada yada, doesn't mean that that's what was true or that was that all that could ever be. It was like I didn't like the results I was getting or the thoughts I thought or the feelings I felt, and I was like, there's got to be a better way, so I'm gonna look for a better way. And I don't care what I have to do, but I'm gonna start challenging this and seeing if there's a different dialogue, right? And eventually I got rid of those old programs. I got rid of those old stories that were passed down. I got rid of those old trauma responses and my old protection mechanisms. But then, like I said, this week, in layers, old protection mechanisms came up for me. And it was like, oh, whoa, why am I doing that? That's scary. Don't do that. That gets you hurt. Mm-mm. Right? And then I had to challenge those voices again for the millionth time and be like, but hold on a minute. Hold on to your horses here. So, what stories are you believing today that need to be challenged? And what patterns need to be broken? And keep in mind that when you are breaking patterns, it doesn't necessarily feel good. When you're breaking patterns, sometimes what it feels like is not freedom, not good. It feels like grief. And it's because there's a tremendous amount of resistance from the parts of you that have been so heavily conditioned and the parts of you that are so fearful and so stuck in their ways and that are so like stuck to our nervous system because it's what's familiar, right? But just because if it's familiar doesn't mean it's good for you, right? And how to know if it's not good for you is that if the same thing keeps happening and you react the same way and it doesn't feel good, then it's not good for you. You know, if you want a different story, then that'll tell you right there. And so um we can completely avoid breaking patterns because of how shitty it can feel. So we're going to create chaos or chase peace, really, is your question at the end of the day. And um, think of all the times when you say yes, when you really want to say no, and all the times you ran away from something that was good, that was in front of you, that you just didn't think you were ready for, or that you deserved it, or that you didn't want same stories to repeat. And think about all the times that you ran from yourself when things got hard or that you avoided emotions or you avoided the hard conversations or um, that you avoided change because change is scary. And just know that we don't break patterns once. It's not a one and done thing. Like I said, it's practicing breaking them over and over, choice by choice. Like, I'm gonna give you an example. I used to smoke, which is freaking crazy to think of. Like, when I think of myself smoking now, I'm like, who? And so, you know how I quit smoking when people ask me? Well, first of all, I got very hungover one day. I don't really drink at all anymore. But I was like 20, I think I was in college, and my best friend and I lived together. And I was in Edson, like visiting some of my other friends or my family. And I was crossing the highway. I almost got killed by a semi truck because I was just that was that hungover that I just wasn't even there. And I was like, okay, this is bad. We want to avoid this in the future. This could have been a bad moment for me and everyone else. And I was like, okay, first of all, I need to quit smoking and drinking. Like I was just partying so much that I was like shaking all the time. And it's like a horrible thing to look back at because like I would never disrespect my body in those ways ever now. But you learn sometimes by doing what doesn't feel good, right? And so, again, the contrast is what taught me to love myself and taught me that that didn't feel good or get me anywhere. And it created so many problems for me. Anyway, so I got home and I was like, hey, I'm gonna quit smoking. And my best friend's like, me too. I'll quit with you. And I was like, okay, well, it's not hard for me because I'm so hungover that like I don't even want to smoke. It makes me nauseous. So I didn't smoke for a whole day. And then after a whole day, I was like, what if I could just do it one more day? And then I did another day. And then it was like, okay, now that I've gotten three days in, that's the worst of the days. Okay, I'm gonna quit. I've quit. I'm quitting smoking. Okay. So now let's see if I can make it to a week. I just need to say no for a week. So then I would keep saying no, keep saying no, keep saying no, and I would avoid situations where I know I would normally smoke. So I didn't go out and drink. I didn't smoke when I was driving. I didn't smoke after I ate. And then it became, okay, what if I can just make it to 1 month? Then I would make it to 1 month. And my motto was like, just say no, just say no, just say no. You just have to say no. Because once you say no, then the feeling goes away. And so eventually I just said no enough times that I didn't want a cigarette ever again. And I didn't want to ruin the progress that I had made. It was like once I got to like a week or a month, it was like, why would I go back to how it was before when I've just put in all this work and effort to train this new muscle of saying no and building this new identity where I don't smoke? Like, when I'm just gonna throw this identity away, like, why don't we just keep going? And so, I mean, I haven't smoked since 2013, I think. Like, that's crazy. Or 2012. I think it's 2012. Maybe even 2011. It's 2025, guys. So, I mean, I was bad. I started smoking when I was like 16, 14. I don't even remember anymore, but anyway, highly don't recommend. So, my point, what was my point? My point was, um, you break your patterns with practice over and over and over and over again, and just making the choice to say, no, not this anymore. Choosing something else. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Right? And so when you're changing who you are and you're rewriting your identities, you have this threshold moment where things have felt like a contraction, things feel shitty. It's always worse before it gets better. There's always the calm before or there's always the storm before the calm. There's always a storm before things get good, okay? And it always feels worse as it's getting better. And the old version of you is gonna like beg for one more round. It's gonna be like, well, no, just one more time. But what if, but just, oh, just, and it's like, no. You have to be like, mm-mm. Not one more time. We've already had enough times. Okay? So, my point, again, of all this is just life's gonna be good, life's gonna be bad. It's gonna be hard, it's gonna be easy. There's gonna be love, there's gonna be fear, there's gonna be hope, there's gonna be grief. And your work isn't to sort it all out or fix it or make it only good. Your job is to hold both. And if you can learn to hold both, you will be happy and you will be peaceful. I promise. Like, my life is beautiful, but it is also heavy, very messy, and very deep. But guess what? It's so much more amazing than most people could ever even think of. But what's required in order to have that is that I have to be willing to experience the deepest, darkest, most painful emotions without running away from them, from observing them, from challenging them, for rewriting them, for moving them through me, through releasing them. I have joy and I have ache. That's awesome. That's life. That's balance. That's yin and yang. Good with the bad, dark with the light. I've completely stopped trying to make everything just good because it's never going to be. In order to be whole and have wholeness, you have to hold both. You have to have the light and the darkness. That is maturity. That is wisdom. That is embodiment. And so that goes not just for life, but for other people and for yourself. That means you forgive yourself. That means you hold both your good and your bad and you love it all. You love your shadows and you love your light. But in order to do that, you have to feel the hard things and you have to witness them. And then as you hold both of those and you have that wholeness for yourself and self-forgiveness, self-compassion, you automatically have it for other people. And so people always ask me, "Well, why are you like so forgiving of those people or why does nothing rattle you? Like why are you okay with that?" And it's like we're just human, man. We're so messy. We're so messy as humans. It's not even funny. Like the minute I stopped looking for perfection for myself, I stopped looking for perfection in other people. The minute I stopped being so freaking hard on myself, other people stopped being so hard on me. The minute that I, saw my own light and my own beauty and my own heart, and the more that I embraced my quirks and my weird things, everybody else did too. And it's like, that's the thing, guys. Life is a mirror, and the mirror is always going to show you what you think that you are, what you believe to be true, and what you feel. So if you don't like what's out there, start asking yourself what's in here. If you don't like that mirror, you don't like that movie that's being projected at you, well, let's go inside here and figure out why it's even out there in the first place. And if you want to change something outside of you, first change it within. As within, so without, right? As above, so below. So, anyways, today, just ask yourself to bring a gentle call to action and to just start the thing. What are you going to do to start? That might just be ending a cycle, but just start the thing or end the thing, just do the thing, and life will meet you halfway. But you have to take the first step. Lao Tzu is this Chinese philosopher that I love, and he says that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So if you don't start at one, you're never gonna get to 1,000. You gotta go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So the step itself is the turning point. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present, and you just have to have compassion for yourself, and you just have to embrace your flaws and your perfections, and you're going to know that you've changed because you're going to respond differently. And so just let today be the day that you guys uh respond with courage, and that you find movement and you find truth, and that you let today be the day that you change your story. Anyways, I'm gonna go make some dinner now. Love you. Bye.